Now, for some time, there's been a debate going on about the National Trust. What is it for? What should it be doing? And who is it for? Decisions to acknowledge some of its properties' past links to slavery and issue staff with rainbow lanyards have led to accusations of wokery. The latest disagreement is over a mansion that's been severely damaged by fire. The 200-year-old Clarendon Park house was gutted in 2015, destroying its marble hall and plasterwork. The charity wants to preserve it as a ruin, but a protest group of National Trust members called Restore Trust believes the decision means the organisation is failing in its aim of preserving the nation's heritage. Property expert Kunle Barker joins us this morning. Hi, Kunle.
Good morning, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. It's an interesting dilemma, this, in terms of what the National Trust should do with a building of this nature, which is, it is complemented. This marble hall is stunning, it's magnificent, and I just wonder what your feeling is on the debate around its restoration now.
Well, for me, the National Trust is about the preserving architecture and the built environment. And whilst it is incredibly sad that, of course, it's burnt down, my feeling is that by rebuilding it, recreating it, that's not really restoration. The marble halls are fantastic, but if they were to spend the money to rebuild that or recreate that, then it wouldn't be a 200-year-old marble hall. It'd be one that was built, a few weeks ago. And I think what they should really be looking at is how can they make their assets, their buildings, more accessible, more inclusive? How can they attract a different kind of people or person, to their sites? And this is a really interesting opportunity, I think, to do something really groundbreaking in order to make it more inclusive.
Let's come to inclusivity in just a sec, but on what you say about, restoring something and, it'll have been built 2 weeks ago, well, that's all well and good, but isn't their job to preserve things for the very long term? And in 200 years, this will be something that was restored 200 years ago.
Yeah, there is, but they are a big organisation, and whilst they are to someone you look at it seem cash rich, they have to be careful what they spend their money on. Now, it could make more sense to 95% of the interior of that building has been destroyed. So it could make more sense to preserve the exterior, which is pretty much untouched, do something more groundbreaking, do something more inclusive inside the building, and use some of I think they've got 63 million from an insurance payout, use some of that money for that and use the rest of it to either update existing buildings that are still intact, make some of them more sustainable, perhaps. There's lots of things that they can do, and I think this is the problem with this is you've got people, the Restore Trust are quite binary in what they want. They just want everything to be restored. But I think if you looked at the bigger picture, there could be a better way for them to move forward.
Okay, it's interesting, isn't it? So then, when you talk about inclusivity and accessibility, what do you mean by that? And how can, let's take this as an example, the Clarendon Park house. How can it be used in the interests of inclusivity and accessibility?
Okay, well, what they could do, they could think about how we actually interact with the building interior. There was a project that I'm aware of, Clifford Tower by Hugh Broughton Architects in York, and they did a really interesting project where they updated the interior but maintained the facade, the exterior, as a heritage asset. Now, people are interacting with that in a completely different way. There are some plans at Clarendon Park to put a glass roof on and do something else with the interior. A few weeks ago, I visited Aviva Studios in Manchester, which is run by Factory International, and they had this amazing Kagami. It was a virtual pianist playing a concert in there, and it was just a different way to interact with our spaces. Now, these sort of things, and when I talk about making it more inclusive, I just mean thinking about, we are a changing people. How do people want to interact with the built environment, with heritage assets? Do they want to just walk around in a queue and look at rooms that are beautifully restored? Some people do want to do that, but others want to do something slightly different. And there are examples, as I said, the Kagami exhibition and concert was when I saw it was mind blowing, because it's a completely different way to interact with effectively a piano concert, a pianist concert. So they should be using this as a stop the infighting, using this as an excuse to kind of push forward and really make their sites more inclusive and more interactive and more relevant to the modern population.
Kunle, interesting thoughts. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us. That is property expert Kunle Barker.